Over the last 24 hours, I've compiled together a list of ideas that I'm going to share with you today. These ideas are all spend small, sell big projects that anybody can make. We want as much traffic to our products as possible, and these are the best conversation pieces. Let's go. Project. Them geese, they don't give me a break. Project number one, this. Now, for this project, I've got a piece of Bubinga, and the thickness is at a 1/2 inch. We're going to get it ripped down to 1 1/4 inches, slap on your PPE, and let it rip. For this video, we're going to be focusing on conversation starters to get more traffic for your other products. Once you get that ripped, go ahead and set your blade height to 1/8 of an inch. Line up your board center of that blade and run it through the saw. And I'll take and get these cut down to 6 1/4. Make sure to smack that like button and hit subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Smack that bell so you can get notified every time I publish a new video. Now from the right side, you want to pull over a 1/2 inch, 2 5/8, and 4 3/4, and make your cross cuts at those marks. Raise your blade and cut these down to 2 inches apiece. Now I'm going to do a little bit more shaping over here at the bandsaw. I'm going to be cutting from the bottom notch up to that top notch, just making an angle on the bottom, and at the top I'll do the same thing notch to notch, just to add some shape. We'll do a little bit of cleaning up over here at the belt sander. I put a core box bit in my router table, and we'll line up our bit to be center with that first dado that we made in our piece. Do these steps before you cut these into 2-inch pieces. It'll be a lot safer for you, but as long as you use a push block, you should be just fine. Alright, so if you haven't figured it out yet, these are pocket crosses. Basically, it's for people who are stressed out or people who suffer from high anxiety. Sort of like a widget. They just keep them in their pockets, and if they get stressed out, they can run their fingers across them and just fiddle with them. And just judging by what's going on in the media lately, yeah, people are stressed. So folks are looking for that de-stressor. Plus, Easter's right around the corner, and these are a great Easter gift. So you want to be sure to sand these to about 400 grit. That way it's nice and smooth to the touch. Check out what some of these are going for. And that's for a set of 6. That price right there is right up my alley and a great profit margin. And you can add whatever type of spin you like. You can even do keychain pocket crosses, which a lot of people do and a lot of people like. And if you got a laser engraver, that just opens your opportunities up even more. You gotta love the minions. Sticking with the smalls, project number 2. We're going to turn this scrap wood into $6. This piece is 3 inches in length, 1.5 inches in width, and 3/8 of an inch thick. We'll start by pulling down from the top to 2.5 inches. We'll turn our miter gauge to 80 degrees, lock that in place, set our blade height to 1/8 inch, line up your blade kerf with that mark you made at 2.5 inches, and make a cut. Now find yourself 2 types of screws. What I've got here is 2 3/4 inch T15 screws, and then I've got these pocket screws that are 1.5 inches. On your pocket screws, you want to snip the screw head, leaving about 1/4 inch from the top shaft. So you should wind up with something that looks like this. Yeah, a Dremel tool with a metal cutting blade wouldn't hurt. Obviously, I'm just kidding around. I super glued it onto my glasses. But just to show you that it does happen and it can happen. So wear your safety glasses. Now we're going to come down at 1.5 inches from the top, and we're going to come in from the sides 1/2 inch. We'll punch those holes. And I'm using an 1/8 inch bit, and I'll drill down about 3/16 of an inch. Now on the very bottom, we'll come in 1/4 inch, and at center, we'll punch a hole on both sides. And we'll pre-drill about a 1/4 inch down. And we'll install our 2 T15 screws. The holes we drilled for our pocket screws are friction fit, so I'm not going to do any epoxy or anything crazy like that. We'll just use some CA glue. And add a dab of glue, 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 add a dab of glue. Right here at the top, we're going to add a swift round over. And right at the top, at the center, we'll install our keychain hardware. Now, as fun as these ones are, and as much conversations as they've started at my booth, this next one takes the cake. Let's go. The stock we're going to be working with is 3/4 of an inch thick. You'll need 3 at least 10 inches in length, and rip one down to 3/4, rip one down to 2 inches, and rip a piece down to 1.5 inches. Next, you'll need a piece around 7 inches in length, and rip one of those to 1.5 inches and another one to 2.5 inches. Now set the bevel on your table saw to 15 degrees and grab a mortising jig. And I'll leave a link for these jigs up in the right hand corner. Now on the 7-inch piece that we ripped to 1.5 inches, we'll pull in a 1/4 inch from the side, and we'll be cutting a 15-degree bevel 1 inch deep through that piece. Let me demonstrate. Now take that same piece and cut it down to 2.5 inches. Before we do anything else, we're going to set our marking wheel to 3/4 of an inch for our 3/4 inch piece. Scribe that 3/4 inch mark from the back of the piece you cut that notch in. Now set your marking wheel to 1/4 inch and mark the sides from that scribe line you just made to the back. We're going to be dadoing out that notch so our 3/4 inch piece can sit inside that pocket. Now we're going to take and resaw that 1.5 inch piece by 10 inches long to 1/8 inch. Now, here's the fun part. Get yourself some of these balls, and these are pretty small balls actually. You know what I'm talking about. These are 1 inch in diameter, and I'll link these in the description so you can pick some up. And what we're going to be doing is drilling a hole directly in the center of one of these balls. And I'm using a 1/16 inch drill bit. Just make sure you're holding everything nice, level, and straight. All right. And you're also going to need some nylon string. And I just had some of this laying around, but I'm sure you can find some on Amazon. I'll take a look and see what I can find, and I'll link it in the description. You want to slide that right on through your balls, just like that. And just tie it into a bunch of knots. That way it won't pull out of the back side. Now mark your 1.5 inch piece that you resawn down to 1/8 inch, right where it meets the outside of this 2.5 inch piece. And we're going to be drilling a hole directly in the center of this piece at that mark. and tying the rope through there as well. And of course my phone decided to die while I was recording that part. However, it should turn out something like this. Just like so. So we'll set that to the side. And the next thing we're going to do is glue our 2.5-inch piece with that notch out of it flush to the back of our 2-inch piece that we ripped earlier. And we'll add a dab of glue. Glue this to where it's center of your bottom piece. You can give it a little rub joint to let it stiffen up a bit. And we'll add some clamps to it. We'll let that dry up and I'll meet you back here. Now for our 3/4-inch piece, we'll ultimately cut that down to 9 1/4. And that 7-inch piece that we ripped to 2.5, we resawed it to 3/8 of an inch and cut it down to 3.5 inches. And what we're going to do is glue that to the top of our 3/4-inch piece, lining it up with the center. We'll add a dab of glue and go ahead and clamp that in place. Now while that was drying, I took a 2-inch hole saw and took the middle bit out and cut out a 3/8 inch thick 2-inch circle. Then I just took it to the belt sander and flattened the back where I have about 1.25 inches worth of surface to glue. But before we glue that on, I need to cut a hole right through the center. And I'm going to be using an 1.5-inch Forstner bit. I'll pre-drill all the way through with the 1/16 inch bit first. And we'll drill down halfway on the top and then spin it over and halfway on the back. And you should be left with a little rim. Take our little rim and add a dab of glue. And we'll add a dab of CA glue to act as a temporary clamp. And we'll glue that to the very bottom of our piece here, center of everything. Apply a little bit of pressure. Hit it with a little bit of activator. We'll glue in our 3/4-inch piece to our bottom here. You can check and make sure that that's level. And then ultimately, we'll glue in our little 1/8 inch strip into our slot. There they are. Oh, that was so close. All right, this is the money shot. Oh, brick. Oh, that was a dud. Oh, that was it. Yeah! Woo! Kobe! Y'all can't see my jump shot? MJ. Yeah, MJ.